TuBShvat. For a man is a tree of the field. This is a phrase from the scripture from Deuteronomy chapter 20 verse 19. Rabbi Baruch Ashlag, the firstborn son of Rabbi Ashlag, wrote a letter to his pupils on TuBShvat, the new year for trees, and states the following. The sages teach that all the different actions which are undertaken by the farmer to increase the produce of the tree are also actions that we take in ourselves in order to bring forth our fruits. With respect to man, the fruit is his good deeds. Once at the TuBShvat festive meal, the Baal Sulam explained why it is that we make a festive meal of fruit. He said that the reason is that the only difference between the holy and the unclean is according to what is written in the Zohar, that the other gods are sterile and don't bear fruit. Their source dries up and they fade and wither completely, whereas those who are going in the way of holiness merit to the blessing of the work of their hands, as it says in the Psalms, whose fruit gives forth in time, and its leaf does not fade. Therefore, on TuBShvat, the new year for trees, when we make a special meal with the fruit, we show that the main thing we are aiming for is the fruit of holiness, which are our good deeds which we do unconditionally, both to our fellow human beings and to God. The work which is done on the trees to help them produce good fruit may be likened to the work we do on ourselves in order to bring a person to his best state. In the Mishnah Shvi'it, we learn which are the traditional works which are performed for the trees. We'll go through them one by one and learn how they apply to us. The first one, composting. We bring to the tree decayed matter, that is to say waste, which in a person is likened to the negative traits of a person. But unlike the tree, we don't need to bring them from the outside, as each person has his own negative traits which are implanted within him and which stem from the will to receive for oneself alone. The required action of a person here is thus to bring these negative traits to the surface, where he can see them and deal with them. If they remain hidden, he will not be able to correct his deeds. Hoeing. The farmers hoe around the trunks of the trees. Similarly, a person needs to dig and investigate his purpose and come to understand why he was born into this life and what this life is for. Removing unwanted growth and blemishes. These are branches which are unproductive and coming from the trunk of the tree. The farmer cuts them and removes them. Similarly, when a person does things that can be seen on the outside, that is, he shows off his erudition or his piety to others, he takes outside of himself what really should remain hidden. Then one needs to remove these traits. The work of a person is really between himself and God, and then it should all be done modestly. The reality is that it isn't always possible to hide things, but if he really wants to hide his learning and his piety, then this is a sign that his work is really for the sake of heaven, and it's not the case if he wants to boast about his prowess in spiritual matters. The next task. Removing excess leaves in order to lighten the tree. Normally, a tree does not produce fruit before it puts forth leaves. Similarly, with a person, he doesn't have the possibility of bringing forth the fruit that is good deeds which are done for the sake of heaven, unless he has first put forth his leaves. The leaves refer to the Torah which is practiced not for its own sake. As it is said in the Gemara, a person should always practice the Torah which is not for its own sake, from which he can come to practice the Torah for its own sake. But just like in a tree, one needs to get rid of these extraneous leaves. Similarly, in the person, he needs to let go of the Torah, which is practiced not for its own sake, in order to come to the Torah for its own sake. Only then will the scripture say, "And his leaf shall not wither," because then all his Torah has come into the framework of holiness. The next job the farmer will do is covering the exposed roots of the tree with earth. The roots in the Kabbalah refer to thoughts because they precede action. What does it mean if thoughts are exposed? Rabbi Ashlag refers this to when one questions the thoughts of the teacher or doubts the words of the sages, comparing one with another, wanting everything explained. This will not lead to positive action. The way forward is that once a person has his teacher, he needs to go forwards in faith. He needs to go forwards in innocence. Not only that, he needs to have faith in himself. And even though a person realizes and knows for himself just how far away he is from the framework of holiness, he needs to battle with his thoughts of despair, covering them over. Know that our negative traits were planted in us by the Creator, and the scripture teaches us that God brings near all those who are broken-hearted. Another job the farmer does is smoking. He surrounds the tree by smoke in order to kill the worms and bugs which grow in it. Worms are mentioned in the Torah in connection with the manna. The manna was given from heaven as a bread of faith, because the children of Israel had to gather it fresh each morning and take for themselves just that which was needed for the day. Every day it had to be renewed, otherwise it grew wormy. Similarly, our faith cannot rely on what we did yesterday. It needs to be renewed each day. One cannot rely on previously attained spiritual states, but start each day anew. Pruning dead branches. A dead branch occurs when it no longer receives sustenance from its root. Similarly, for a person, if his performance of the mitzvot is only by rote, they are like dead branches, which are no longer receiving sustenance from the wellspring of faith. Thinning. Branches which are green and newly sprouted need thinning out so that only a few of the good ones remain to give fruit, and we do not overburden the tree with too many. Similarly, a person's wisdom should not be too much. What that means is that it should not be theoretical and overburdened with large quantities, but it should match his deeds so that all his wisdom is brought forth into action, because only wisdom which bears fruit in deeds is in fact useful. From this analysis, we can certainly see how a man may be likened to a tree. May we all be blessed to give of our own unique fruit and provide shelter for those who want to come to us. May we all be blessed with the blessing of the trees, which we bless in Nisan. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who did not cause any lack in his world, but created in it good creatures and good trees, that people may enjoy them. When we are able to produce such good fruits, the fruit of our good deeds, which give benefit to all, we will usher in the day when all of us will enjoy from us, and nothing will be lacking in God's universe.